Today we're going to talk about a hormone that we talked about before because it was in the news recently. Does anyone remember cortisol? We talked about it when we talked about the endocrine system. Cortisol is released from the hypothalamus via a cascade. So the hypothalamus releases corticotropin releasing hormone, which then stimulates the pituitary to release adrenocorticotropin hormone, which stimulates the adrenals to actually release cortisol. Cortisol is produced under stress, and it causes the sugar generation from non-carbohydrate sources. We talked about how in women who have a muffin top but are otherwise skinny versus women who are skinny and do not have a muffin top, cortisol levels are higher in the women with muffin tops. And we also talked about my lab mate, Catherine, who studies birds in the Bahamas and Mexico, and how she measures cortisol levels to test their level of stress in relationship to their territory size and whether or not they have a mate. A recent study found that gays, bis, and lesbians are less stressed. And actually, this was surprising to the researchers and maybe surprising to you as well, because many people would have expected that because these groups are often prejudiced against and persecuted, that they might be more stressed. Stephen Colbert speculates that this might be because basically that they don't have to deal with women. So that he thinks it's perfectly logical that gay men would be less stressed because they never have to deal with crazy women. But if you think about who would be included in bis, gays, and lesbians, of course, bisexual men and bisexual women and lesbian women would be all dating women. So this probably is not really the reason. And in fact, this guy is Dan Savage. He has a show on MTV you might be familiar with. He is a sex advice columnist, and he has an alternative idea about why it is that, in comparison to these groups, that straight men specifically would show up as so much more stressed. And he thinks it's because of the pressure of conforming to a certain type of identity. So, for example, if I told you that I was going to go home and paint my nails, you would probably not think that was particularly objectionable. And if I were a gay man, I told you that, you might think it was a little strange, but you probably would not make any more fun of me than you would just based on the fact that I'm a gay man, because we expect that gay men might participate in behaviors that we consider to be traditionally female. And finally, if I told you that if I was a straight man, I told you I was going to go home and paint my nails, you might really start questioning my sexuality. And in fact, when we did a poll in all of the classes and I asked people, have you ever questioned the sexuality of a straight friend? A lot of you said that yes, you had thought about whether or not your straight friend was gay, but almost nobody said they had questioned whether or not their gay friend was actually gay and wasn't secretly straight. So there's a lot of pressure on straight people, but not so much on gay people, to conform to certain identities to maintain their sexual orientation to the public, that people will believe in it. And this is specifically true of straight men, because there's a lot of ideas about masculinity. Here are a couple of graphs from the article that showed that gay people were less stressed than straight men, and you can see here they're on the graph on the right. You can see the difference between people being in the closet and being not in the closet. So the dotted line is people who have told their family and friends about their sexual orientation, and the more solid line is people who have not told people about their sexual orientation. And so what you can see here is that if you are out of the closet, so if you've told your family and friends about your sexual orientation, then you have lower cortisol levels. And on the left hand, on the graph A, you have different groups. So you have lesbian, bisexual women, heterosexual women, gay, bisexual men, and heterosexual men. What you can see there is that heterosexual men are the most stressed, and basically everybody else is less stressed. And you can see that in all people over the time of day, that people wake up and they have higher levels of cortisol, probably because your body has been fasting all night, so your body needs another source of sugars at that time, and then as you go on and eat and stuff like that, then the cortisol levels decline. So basically, the message of this Science in the News is that if we all accept one another for who we are. So if you are a straight man who wants to listen to Taylor Swift and paint your nails, and we could accept you and still, believe that you are a straight man and allow you to have that identity, then everybody would become less stressed and everybody would be more comfortable. And ultimately, that's kind of what we want to have in the world around us. Thank you.